What the heck happened? Okay, so now that we have completed our employees section, now we're going to be dealing with taxes that are involved for having employees. So here we're going to go ahead and set up our taxes that we have, as well as the how to calculate that from your employees. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And then it's going to give me a list of all of these lists that are going to be included into for having employees. So what QuickBooks does is it pulls the information that you have entered into QuickBooks. So for example, I have employees. So therefore, I need to pay for their federal Insurance Contribution Act. Thank you again, Venna. And so that includes two sections under the FICA Act, right? It includes Social Security, which is known as OASDI, which is Old Age Survivors and Disability Insurance, and Medicare, which is known as hospital insurance. Okay, so those are the two major ones that are under FICA. So those things are definitely going to be included as far as the tax that both you and the employer has to cover. So as you can see here, listed here, we got Medicare, which is the HI, and we have Social Security, which is the OASDI. And then we also have federal unemployment tax here. Yes, the only one I do not see is state unemployment. So that's definitely something we need to include because all states have it no matter what. So let's go ahead and look in our book just to make sure and verify which accounts that they want us to have. But typically when you're dealing with these kind of taxes, you want to make sure that those are the few things that you want to have. Now, there is an advanced payment option, which I actually don't think is necessary. So I'm going to actually get rid of this. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Oh, I can't get rid of it. So the great thing about this is you can only edit the information. You can't even get rid of it. So all of these are required by whatever state I'm living in, as well as what county I am part of as well. So that's why I was kind of weirded that if there's no actual state unemployment tax. But that's okay. If these are the things that it suggested me to have, I can always edit that information as well and create that extra form in case I do need to apply the state unemployment. So I'm going to go ahead and click next, since those are the suggested ones that I should have. And then again, it's going to say, well, what other things that you need to have. California withholdings, California disability, and then California unemployment, and California employment training. So here it's going to, we're going to go through one step at a time to go through every single one. So the first one is going to be the unemployment, is that EDD? So the unemployment, California EDD payments. So again, this is going to just set up each one and every single one. Now, let's see what the book says when we're dealing with EDD. EDD, we need to make sure that it is going to be for the account quantity. So I'm just looking for the percentage for this one, for EDD. So EDD should be, I guess it wants us to start with the EF. Okay, so that's the organization is going to be the ETF. So this one is 0.09 for the EDD. 0.09 and then 0.1 tax, and then 3.4% down here. So let's go ahead and fill that information in. So here we recognize that this is supposed to be 0.9%, which there isn't one. So the closest that I will be able to do is would be 1%. Okay. So how this works is anyways, I don't have the option for 0.9, so I'm going to go ahead and round that up to 1 point. And then this one says 0.01, which in this case, we can leave. And then the next section that we need to fill in would be this percentage right here, which is going to be 3.4% for this exact one. Then we're going to go ahead and click next. And then you could go ahead and either click for the next one or go ahead and be able to add. Oh, okay, so here I'm able to add and delete. Okay, so I am going to add, and it's going to ask me, well, what am I going to add? Well, I'm going to add state unemployment taxes. Create common tax for state. Yes, I am going to create it for the state of California. Oops. We need to go one more up. See, Arizona. Oh, I think. Okay, I don't see California on here. That is so weird. Yeah, that's so weird. There is no California. Well, I guess I'm going to not do it because for some reason California isn't an option, which is very weird. So I'm going to go ahead and ignore that. That's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and click next because those are the things that are required for the state of California. Okay, so now it shows me all of this stuff here. So here is California unemployment and employment training. So here I'm going to go ahead and fill this information in. So it's going to ask me who's my vendor, and I think it was the TPS. Okay. So that is, yeah, EFTPS. And we want to make sure that how often are we going to pay this organization? I think quarterly sounds pretty good. Usually this is based on how much you owe to the government. So because we're brand new, I guess, no, we've been around for 10 years, but I think it's okay since maybe I don't owe as much because I don't have that many employees. In my business, I should only have 2 employees. So it's okay for me to pay every quarterly. Now, if you're like a major corporation who has 1 million employees, then you're probably subjected to have to pay at least either every day or even weekly, as a matter of fact, because, you know, this is the easy way to collect money if you, on a state level, but also as a federal level too, because of these major corporations. They're making so much money and they're spending all this money. You know, the easiest way to collect the money would be if they paid it every day or weekly. Okay? So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and select quarterly. Now I do have the option to either pay annually or quarterly. I guess because in this case, we're just a small business. And I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, if I wanted to select a different payment, I can. But in this case, no, I'm going to leave it the way it is. And I'm going to go ahead and click next. Okay, so now I'm at this window here. I'm going to pay the United States taxes, the Treasury is going to be my organization that I'm paying to. And it's going to be how often do I pay? And in this one, I'm going to pay them every month. Okay? Just because this is for, yes. Okay, so we want to make sure that at least I want to be on top of my payments for this organization. So I'm going to say monthly. And then I'm going to click next. So the next one's going to ask you, well, what about the EDD? Okay. For EDD, I am going to, actually, wait, I think this isn't it. I think this is supposed to be ETPS. Hold on, I finished that one already. So EDD, we're going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. And we're going to pay them quarterly. So EDD, was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and we're going to pay them quarterly. So each organization that we're looking at is all the individual agencies that I have to pay for these specific taxes I'm getting charged for having employees. So again, so that's why it's very important to create separate items, because ultimately separate items or separate accounts, they're going to associate with a separate organization that you have to pay. So you want to be sure that when you're setting this up, it's pulling all the information for you, so you don't actually have to look it up of exact which organization you're paying for. It will automatically do it for you. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and click next, and then okay, I didn't click next. So now, who do I pay for the California unemployment? Let's go ahead and verify which organization I'm paying to for the California unemployment. So California unemployment is going to be the same entity, which is the EDD, same number, and same thing, quarterly. So I'm going to go ahead and click next since all the information's already there. Okay, so now I've completed everything except for this one. Okay, no, that's right. So everything except for this one. Wait, I have an error message here. All right. Information is missing. Okay, well. All right, let's edit that information then for the ED for this one. Oh, okay, I see what we did. We didn't enter in the information here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Okay, and then we can go ahead and proceed here. All right, so there you go. Now all my information is completely filled out. I set up each liability with an organization that collects the money from us. So my portion there is done. So now I can go ahead and click continue. Okay. So once I've gone through that, now the next thing I'm going to be looking at is going to be year-to-date payroll. So this is us entering in any information about our the status of our employees, like such as like because we've been paying them. So what is their new information now that I'm starting with QuickBooks to do my payroll. So again, you're going to be answering a series of these questions. Has your company issued paychecks this year? I'm going to say yes, because we've been in business since 2008. Okay. Usually if you are starting a new company, and you're starting off with QuickBooks, you don't need to answer these questions completely. Just answer how it is. So in this case, yes, I have been printing out checks before. Okay, so continue. Now it's gonna ask you this. So this is us to enter information as far as it is for our employees. Okay. So it's pretty much saying, okay, well, which days that you have paid or written a check out to. Again, I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this this window right here. And I'm going to go ahead and try to skip this section just because this part's a little long and tedious, and you have to actually enter in everything that you have done so far. And in this case, I don't really have that information, and it's a lot of information. So let me see what this book tells you to do as far as setting those payments up. Okay. So in this case, in this one, it says you're supposed to select no. All right, because again, we don't have all the payment information, so it makes sense that you select no, so you can go ahead and bypass that. Okay, so let me see if I'm allowed to go back, and let me see if I click continue. Would it fire back up that same exact window? All right, no, I guess not. So then now I am pretty much done. So I finished everything, and I'm finally at my last window, and it validates it for me right here. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and finish up, and now I've completely set up my entire payroll services, and now here it opens up automatically my employee center. Okay, so again, it looks similar to my customer center as well as my vendor center. However, it actually functions a lot differently. Okay, so there are a few things that are a little different, such as like instead of having managed transactions, you're only going to have manage employee information instead of managed or new transactions. So again, you can either add or edit the sales rep or anything like that, change anything for the statuses or settings. So anything like that. So here you can set default settings, which is the next section I want to talk to you about. And you can also enter new employees as well. Okay. Once you press that, it's going to automatically come up with the same exact window as your information. So since this person's name is Katie, this is when you want to fill in the new information. You can if you want to. Again, the only thing that's different is you're not able to see many things. So if you have a transaction, the only transaction you will see is if you paid them or not. And they do have other things like that, but it should give you information just like the employee center and the customer center and the vendor center. Pretty much looks identical, but functions differently. And there is no managed transactions because again, you need to pay for a payroll service in order to have the options to be able to do that. But in this case, no. All our main focus is to enter the time, pay the employee, and then pay the liabilities. Okay. So, how to set up employee defaults. Now, this one, if you go ahead and read this, when you activate this, it's pretty much setting up your employees. So then the next time that you set a new employee, you don't have to go through this series of questions all over again. Because remember, the whole series about answering questions specifically about the employee. There are some ways that you can cut corners so you can save some time because it will default it to whatever you want it to default to. So for example, I want to if I'm already established that I am a biweekly payroll system, I can go ahead and set that default so then when I set up a brand new customer, a brand new employee, it will automatically associate it with the biweekly payroll system. Okay? So that is what is cool about that. And I can show you by going to the transactions and click the edit or change defaults. So here's the window. So again, if I want to set up my taxes, I can set up my taxes, but I think for payment schedule, I want to make sure that my default selection is going to be bi-weekly, okay? Oh, that's the pay frequency. So payroll schedule. Okay, I guess I don't know about that. Class, again, class just determines which one you're going to be choosing, and it would be overhead. Since it doesn't apply to either San Jose or Walnut Creek, it would be overhead. But in that case, I'm going to make sure that I set it as overhead. Okay. There's other things that you can do if you have a specific one or you want to create an item for it. You can create like admin or salaries and expenses. So any of those classes, like you can segregate them and create those there. But in this case, every time I set my employee, all I really want them to be able to have as far as this is know that they are bi-weekly and that they're considered overhead. And that's about it. And that's so every time I enter a new employee, it will change all those things. Now, if I've already have a previous employee, it will not change the settings for it because it only applies to your new employees. Okay, so be sure that you know that, okay? It does not, if you're going to set defaults, it only defaults the new employees that you set up, okay? And it does not apply to the old ones that were previously set up. So in this case, I only have Katie. That's fine. I'm supposed to have Mike Mazowski as well, but you already know how the process to enter an employee takes. It takes quite some time. All right, and then let's see what's the next section I have for you guys. And then next is default settings for taxes. Again, you go ahead and read this. It's the same thing except you select the taxes button, and you just set them up. Are they California tax or whatnot? Pretty straightforward. And then default settings for sick and vacational pay. That's again. It's all in that same exact table. All right. All right. Now the last section that I'm going to be looking at is going to be reports. So here we have the employee contact reports. So I'm going to go to list and click on employee contacts. So let me see. If I were to go to lists, I'd be able to scroll down. I have customer vendor. I don't have an employee. Oh, other names list. Let's see. Is this it? Okay, I don't think so. Okay. Okay, well, that's weird because my list doesn't have employees. I only have customers, employees, and profiles list. no employees list. All right then. Let me see if I can find it under my employees list. Employees. Payroll.
Your employees list should be under your employee center, no?
To get their contact list.
To get their contact list?
Yeah, that's what this one is. So it says the employee contact list report. Okay, so it says right here, select reports, my bad. Okay, my bad, that was my fault. I skipped that one section. So I go to reports, and I think I go under employees, if I'm not wrong. No, it's under list. So employees and payroll, okay? And let's see, do I have my contact list here? Yes, employee contact list right here. So if I were to click that, I only have one employee. So again, if you want to see all their emails, you can go ahead and select that. If you just want their main phone number, you can customize this to how you want to see the employees contact list. Okay, so again, this is probably more beneficial for you in case you have like a meeting. You want to send everyone else. You want to send everyone out an email. You can go ahead and print that information out. Okay, so that's probably by far the most important thing that you can do. So again, if you were to go to reports and you were to go to your employees and payroll, you pretty much have a pretty decent large selection of reports that you can check out. So example, payroll, anything that has to do with your payroll specifically. Yeah, and anything that happens there. But as far as like actual customers, you can have the employee, you can have emergency contact list. So again, for your employees, in case they do get injured, they should have a small section where you can enter their contact information for. So for all of this, it's yes. Okay. So again, let's go back to my employee center real quick. Okay, so if I double click this, it's gonna pop up her information, right? So as you can see here, we've only filled out so much information, right? That was available to us. We didn't fill out every single thing. So for example, additional information. Okay, so if they have a nickname, you can go ahead and put that in there. If we only set up their payroll options, and we only set up their employment information. Okay, that's all we set up, and just their information. But we didn't set up any extra information such as emergency contacts. We haven't things like that. Or for again, under our custom fields, what else do we want to know about our employees? So again, just entering employees through the employee setup doesn't actually give you the maximum amount of stuff for each profile. So in case you do need to add more information, you would actually have to select the employee and add all that extra information in there, okay? But for most parts, again, for all that section for the employment status, as well as the setting up the tax, the payroll setups, if you were to default it, that section should already be filled out for you, okay? But other than that, that's majority of what that entails. So, all right, so let's go ahead and go over the review questions, since that is it for chapter 10. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and proceed. So number one, the easy and convenient way to process payroll in QuickBooks is for employees on a different payroll service or schedule would be to what? Okay, A, move all the employees to a single schedule. B, use the payroll schedule under the QuickBooks. Okay, or C, outsource payroll, or D, make all employees independent contractors. Which answer sounds more correct?
B, the payroll schedule function in QuickBooks.
Exactly. Okay. So number one, you don't have to force everyone to be on a single schedule, right? If you have someone that's based off commissions, you could pay them anytime, right? They don't have to follow the same lines as your payroll schedule. So just note that A is not correct because you can have different schedules, but it is preferred to put them all into one. B is correct. Okay, C, outsource payroll. Of course you can outsource payroll, but what does that have to do with their schedule? Nothing. Okay. And then lastly, D, make all employees independent contractors. Okay. Here's a little FYI for you guys. If an employee is your employee, and let's say you fire them and hire them back as a 1099 contractor, so they are your independent contractors, the federal will recognize them as your employee because they previously were an employee of yours. Okay, so make sure that you understand that just because we cut ties and say, hey, I'm gonna change you into an independent contractor, the government will not recognize that. They're going to recognize that this person used to be your employee, so they're going to treat your 1099 as an employee. So make sure that you understand that. Okay, so there is no real way that you can actually fire your employee and rehire them as an independent contractor. Okay. However, if it's the other way around, I believe you can do that. So let's say they were an independent contractor, and let's say you fire them to hire them as an employee, that would be okay. Okay, they wouldn't treat them still as an independent contractor. No, they would validate all those benefits and stuff. So, in other words, yes, that is okay to do, but you can't do it where you fire the employee and hire them as independent contractor. No, the government will not accept that. Okay. Number 2, okay, which of the following payroll methods is not an option in QuickBooks? Okay, so again, the options is going to be how you pay them. So we got quarterly, bi-weekly, daily, and D is semi-annually.
I would say D, you cannot, I mean, that seems like the best answer.
Okay, so D is actually correct. Because if you guys remember I don't know, when I was toggling that option of how I'm going to pay Katie, the only option I had was quarterly, bi-weekly, weekly, daily, and annually. Yeah, there was no semi-annual. You can't pay them every half year. But it's weird how you can pay them every year, but who knows? So yes, D is the correct answer. Number 3, hold on. Which payroll item cannot be created in the payroll setup interview? Okay, A, commissions, B, bonus, C, medical insurance deduction, or D, you can create all items above during the payroll setup.
D, that's an easy one.
Yeah, that's an easy one. Yes, you can create all of this. You could create even ones that aren't there. Again, you can edit in the title. Let's say you don't call it commissions, you call it based on sales. Okay, I don't know, sales percentage. You can change and add and would edit the title of whatever you want to call it. So again, this question is very easy. You can create anything. Okay, and also you can create any items that's not in the setup. Okay, we already took a look at it under the payroll list options. I'm sorry, under the payroll list. Yes, you're able to add whatever you want. All right, number 4, which is not an option when setting the setting the accrual period for sick and vacation pay. A, beginning of the year. B, every month. C, every paycheck. Or D, every hour on the paycheck. So this, I don't think I covered this very into detail, but what do you guys think is the answer? So it's asking you, what is the option when selecting to accrual the period for sick pay and vacation pay? So I don't remember if you guys remember this, but I did toggle this when we were setting up Katie because we allowed her to have sick pay. And I remember I set her to have 80 hours, I believe. So she's allowed to take 5 days off. Okay, so there's only 3 options you can do. And and the question is not an option.
B.
B is correct. You wouldn't be able to accrue every month, okay? Because when does sick pay usually happen? Okay, you need to definitely count it for every paycheck, and you need to calculate every hour. And lastly, in order to set that the allowance for how many days or hours she can have sick, you have to set it up in the beginning of the year. Okay, so yes, you can't do it every month. Okay, you can't reset it every month. It's how many days you can take throughout an entire year. So P is the correct answer. All right, last question, number 5. The payroll setup interview will not allow you to A, edit the default names for payroll items. B, associate deductions and withholding items with vendors. C, set the pay rate to an employee. Or D, add 2 employees with exactly the same name.
D.
Yes. Yes.
You have to make some kind of variation to
Correct.
distinguish the two.
Correct. This is kind of a funky question just because you technically can have 2 of the same people. The only variation would be their social security shouldn't be the same. So that's a weird question, but then again, who knows? But yes, D is the correct answer. You cannot add 2 people with the same name.
And it said that about when we were setting up the vendors and the vendors too. They can't have the same name. They have to have a little difference in them.
That is when you're setting up a vendor who is
Right.
also a customer.
That's true. They can't have the same.
Yeah, they have to either have like an initial or something to just differentiate. But all the information can be the same, as in their shipping address, their billing address, all of it can be the same. However, the only difference is their name has to be a little different. Okay? So, yay! that is it for chapter 10. All right.